Welcome, God's chosen ones. Before God raises you, He will reset you. And believe me, the procedure will feel similar to your Wi-Fi disconnecting in the middle of a download. Have you ever noticed how the most dramatic comebacks begin with the greatest crashes? Here's a fact to ponder on. 90% of the world's greatest inventions started with failures, setbacks, or outright anarchy. The Wright brothers wrecked more airplanes than they flew. Oprah is dismissed from her first television job. And you? Let's just say your deadliest alter ego has the potential to outperform these legendary figures. But here's a twist. What seems to be a breakdown is God's method of resetting your system. He is not deleting your past. He's editing the story. Every crazy choice, every dubious action, and every bold, messy, wonderful aspect of you is going to form the foundation of something spectacular. So, buckle up. The chosen one. This is not a soft reset. It is a magnificent makeover. And your terrible side is going to gain a divine shine. First and foremost, your alter ego is not malevolent. Rather, it is incomplete. What if the worst aspects of yourself are really unfinished power? The part of you that is impulsive, rebellious, or even destructive is not a flaw. It is a version of yourself that has not yet reached its full potential. It's like having a race-ready engine, but no steering wheel. That baddest alter ego is nothing to be embarrassed of. It is raw, unprocessed potential, awaiting alignment. When God reboots it, He does not toss it away. He is transforming what the world misinterpreted into something unstoppable. Think about it. The characteristics that others criticize in you may be the ones that will alter the world. That fire in your attitude, your resolve to give up, that outspoken, unapologetic side of you. It was not intended to be silent. It was intended to be directed. That is exactly what the reboot is about. It's not about losing who you were. It's about refining the edges, repairing the flaws, and bringing you into heavenly harmony. God doesn't just reset your alter ego. He turns it into a force for good. People were terrified by His aggressiveness. It turns into bravery. They could not grasp the disobedience. It develops into leadership. You carried pandemonium. It becomes creative with a purpose. So quit avoiding your negative side. It was never awful. It was just incomplete. You've been carrying a rough diamond all along, and it's now going to shine. The reset does not mean the end of that aspect of you. It's the start of it being what it was always supposed to be, unstoppable, unmistakable, and completely aligned with your goal. Number 2, rebellion is the forerunner of revelation. Rebellion is not the issue. It's a spark. The times you've been the most disobedient, irresponsible, or misunderstood were not accidents. They marked the beginning of something larger, something you could not see yet. Rebellion is often the first step toward revelation because it compels you to examine everything. It makes you restless, uneasy, and unable to relax. That soreness isn't coincidental. It is divine. It's God's method of jolting you out of the routine and awakening the remarkable inside you. Your terrible choices, arguments, and times of mayhem, they were not squandered. They were teachings, packaged in sloppy wrapping. Sometimes you have to strike a wall at full speed to know you're going the wrong way. And once you do, the reset starts. God does not punish rebellion. He utilizes it. He takes that raw energy, that fire, and transforms it into something tremendous. He converts your resistance into resilience, and your missteps into momentum. What others referred to as your wild side or baddest alter ego wasn't particularly terrible. It was your soul's cry for more significance, more truth, more harmony with who you were meant to be. And now that the cry has been heard, God moves in to guide you rather than hush you. He isn't interested in taming you. He is interested in altering you. Rebellion smashes the mold, but revelation creates something new. The times you felt the most lost were also the times you were closest to discovering your purpose. Your disobedience was the spark, but God's reboot is the flame. You aren't simply coming back stronger. You are returning with clarity, concentration, and a fire that nothing can extinguish. Number 3, restart, reset. Rebooting is not the same as resetting. God is not erasing your history or pretending the catastrophe never occurred. He keeps every single moment, every failure, every heartache, and every stupid decision because it's part of your plan. Resetting would entail starting anew from scratch. But God is not interested in eliminating you. He's editing your tale, preserving the lessons, and transforming your anguish into strength. The reset is about leveraging all you've experienced to shape you into the person you were always intended to be. Your background is not a burden. It serves as your negotiating tool. The aspects of yourself that seemed damaged or incorrect were not dead ends. They were the basic components God needs for the metamorphosis. He's not attempting to make you forget your difficulties. He's demonstrating how you can utilize them as tools to go ahead. That error you feared would disqualify you, that is now your testimony. That habit you believed would ruin you, God is turning it into your breakthrough. Think about it. When a system reboots, it retains its core. It keeps everything it needs to operate, but it gets rid of everything that is no longer useful. This is what God is doing with you. The worst aspects of you were not errors. They were teachings in disguise. He retains the daring, grit, and fire while eliminating the fear, uncertainty, and distractions. This is not about deleting your history. It's about amplifying the future. God is transforming every ounce of your mess into something amazing. The reboot is not intended to undo who you are. It's about being the most authentic, strong version of one's self. The 4 selected ones are always uncomfortable in mediocrity. Mediocrity has never seemed appropriate to you, has it? It is not because you are arrogant or believe you are superior than everyone else. It's because, deep down, you know you were meant for something more. That persistent itch, that restless energy, that nagging suspicion that this isn't it. That is fate, whispering in your ear, refusing to let you relax. Routine and normality may be comforting to others, but they are not to you. It feels suffocating, like trying to squeeze into a box that was never designed to accommodate you. This soreness is not a curse. This is confirmation. It indicates that you have been selected, and chosen ones cannot remain hidden indefinitely. Media equity may seem secure, but it is not your home. You've been set aside for a purpose, and the reboot is coming to bring you out of the shadows. That impulse to keep everything modest, lower your light, and fit in with the throng is being peeled away piece by piece. God does not allow the chosen one to remain comfortable because purpose necessitates bravery. Your reset is more than simply an upgrade. It's all about alignment. It's about getting you out of the center and onto a road that requires your whole potential. Yes, it is unnerving. Yes, it is unpleasant. But mediocrity was never meant to keep you. This is your invitation to step out, to push beyond the limitations you've been living with, and to embrace the difficult journey of being amazing. That discomfort you feel will not go away. Destiny refuses to let you shrink. Your reboot is here to help you reach the level you were supposed to be at, regardless of how hard you fought to resist. Number 5. The worst version of yourself has to shatter first. The baddest version of you was not a cosmic mistake. It was an essential experiment. It was the version of you created through survival, rebellion, and an attempt to find meaning in the turmoil of your existence. That version was not intended to exist forever. It was intended to educate you what does not work. It needed to shatter first, not because you failed, but because the foundation did not reflect who you actually are. God does not squander any part of your trip. He allows you to develop those aspects of yourself that are driven by ego, anguish, or even desperation, so that you might test their boundaries. You had to observe for yourself what couldn't withstand pressure. And when everything came crumbling down, it was not a punishment. It was a premeditated collapse. Breaking is terrible, but it also clarifies. It removes the diversions, illusions, and facades. It exposes the weaknesses in your foundation and compels you to rebuild with purpose. That worst version of yourself was not the conclusion of your narrative. This was an essential chapter. Without it, you wouldn't understand the strength of the version God is now constructing. The fall was not a failure. It was a magnificent setting. God was allowing you to exhaust every choice, plan, and shortcut, so that when He comes in to reboot you, you'll know it's true. The broken portions of you were not designed to survive the process. However, the lessons they left behind were. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. And this time, you are stepping into a version of yourself that is not just brave and courageous, but also completely connected with your mission. Each collapse was calculated. Now it's time for the breakthrough. Number 6. Divine downloads are already occurring. You don't have to wait for the reset. It is already occurring. Do you feel it? The sleepless evenings when your mind refuses to stop racing, the seemingly unexpected sparks of enlightenment, your gut impulses demand your attention. Those are not random. These are heavenly downloads. Your spiritual software requires upgrades. God isn't waiting for the perfect opportunity to begin working on you. He is already in action, fine-tuning you in ways you may not completely comprehend now. The unexpected sleeplessness isn't solely due to stress. Your soul is waking up. It is in the peaceful hours that God speaks to you, offering you ideas, methods, and solutions. Those flashes of clarity that seem to cut through your skepticism, these are not coincidences. They're heavenly whispers that confirm you're on the correct route, and those unshakable gut sensations. That is your inner compass being rebalanced to line with your goal. The secret is to pay attentive. These downloads do not come with flashing lights or a public notice. They're subtle yet effective. They're the concepts that won't leave you, truths that strike you harder than normal, the sudden impulse to shift course or break links with items that are no longer useful to you. This is God's method of rebooting you in real time, piece by piece, without the need for you to catch up. You don't need to wait for a major event to realize the reboot has arrived. It's already occurring in the little, unmistakable changes you see every day. Will you lean into it? These files are getting you ready for something larger than you can conceive. And with each upgrade, you grow one step closer to being the version of yourself you were intended to be. Number 7. God is not polishing you. He is boosting you. This is not about softening your edges or making you more palatable. God is not interested in making you softer, quieter, or easier to manage. The reboot is not a polishing job. Rather, it is an amplification. He is taking every bold, unapologetic aspect of you and amplifying it. People felt there was too much fire. It is becoming your source of power. Others found the intensity unsettling. It is becoming your strength. The baddest version of yourself is not being deleted. It is being converted into your loudest testimony. Society often tells individuals to tone it down, blend in, and be more acceptable. But God doesn't operate that way. He did not make you to fade into the background. He made you stand out, shake things up, and upset the norm. This relaunch is about embracing your originality rather than retreating from it. God is not diluting your energy. He's improving it. He is transforming your raw bravery into intentional courage. Your stubbornness will transform into unwavering faith, and your weaknesses will become your most compelling narrative. What individuals perceived as too much was not an issue. It was a preparation. You have to walk through the messy, unapologetic portions of yourself to understand what genuine strength and honesty look like. God is now enhancing your finest qualities. Ensure that when you enter a room, your presence draws attention, not for your own ego, but for His goal. This is not a makeover. It is a megaphone. God's reset does not make you smaller or quieter. It makes you louder, brighter, and more connected with your calling. The version of you that used to terrify people is now the one that inspires them. Prepare to own it without apology. This is your magnified self. Number 8 was rebooted for an age, not just a moment. This is neither a fast repair or a momentary makeover. God is not interested in preparing you for a fleeting moment of recognition or a short period of prosperity. The reset you're going through is intended for something much greater, a legacy that will outlive you. You aren't merely being rebuilt for now. You're being reconstructed to serve a purpose that will last through generations. The world is full with short-lived trends and surface-level changes, but you aren't here for that. Your relaunch is not about receiving praise for a minute. It is about building a solid foundation that will withstand the test of time. Think about it. What God is doing in you is neither hurried or reactive. It's purposeful, strategic, and firmly anchored in development that has far-reaching consequences. This is a metamorphosis that will motivate others, change attitudes, and make a lasting impression on the world. You are being prepared for the long game. That requires patience, perseverance, and trust in the process. It also entails acknowledging that the obstacles you endured were never intended to break you. They were intended to prepare you for this period of purpose. Every setback, every closed door, and every time you felt neglected was part of a larger picture. When this reset is complete, you will not just rise. You will rethink what it means to endure and achieve. People won't just see you. They'll feel the effects of your change long after you've left. This is not about getting fast victories. It is about taking on a position that will influence, inspire, and change the narrative for people who follow after you. You're not present at the moment. You're here for the duration, and the world is going to see the brilliance of your reinvention. Number 9, your detractors are watching for a purpose. It's no accident that those who distrust you seem to be the most attentive. Every action, every step you take in the reboot process, they're watching, waiting, and maybe even hoping you'll fail. But they don't comprehend that their mistrust is part of the strategy. God is not reforming you just for your own benefit. He's doing it openly, and your detractors are an important part of the audience. Doubt is a potent fuel when utilized wisely. People who formerly looked down on you, misjudged you, or even worked against you will soon be forced to accept the changes in your life. Their skepticism isn't your demise, it's a springboard. God is purposefully enabling others to see your progress, since your comeback isn't just about you. It's a witness, a reminder that divine purpose always takes precedence over human viewpoints. But here's the thing, this metamorphosis isn't about proving them incorrect. It is about proving God correct. Your development, fearlessness, and strength. It is not intended to make people regret questioning you. It is intended to demonstrate what is possible when someone surrenders to purpose, whether they acknowledge it or not. Your detractors are going to be witnesses to something they can't dispute. Your progress is unstoppable since it isn't dependent on their acceptance or condemnation. It's based on God's plan. And the plan does not fail. Your metamorphosis will either inspire or humble those who doubted you. In any case, they are monitoring for a purpose. Let their doubt serve as a reminder of how far you've come and where you're headed. This makeover isn't just personal, it's public, intentional, and irrefutable. Let them watch. The best is yet to come. Number 10. Your alter ego was the armor, not the adversary. What you had always considered your negative side was not the adversary. It was your armor. That rebellious streak, that bold attitude, that disobedience made others uncomfortable. Those were your defense, not your demise. You believed those characteristics were blocking you from your destiny, but in actuality they were holding you together, protecting your actual purpose from being harmed by society's expectations. You had to carry that armor because it protected you from being broken before your time. The fact is that your alter ego was not intended to be the ultimate version of you. It was just the power you need to exist in a world that did not recognize your genuine value. It was a protective barrier against the doubt, rejection, and grief that might have brought you down. Now, however, God is ready to remove the dents, smooth out the rough edges, and perfect what was always supposed to be your most powerful weapon. God is not attempting to take away your power or bravery. He's transforming the armor that was previously necessary into something even more strong. The elements of you that formerly seemed too much, the intensity, the fire, the unashamed confidence, are being polished rather than abandoned. God is honing your edge, transforming your raw energy into a concentrated force that propels you towards your ultimate purpose. This relaunch isn't meant to soften you. It's about increasing your effectiveness, attention, and alignment with your mission. The armor that formerly shielded you is being taken away, revealing the actual strength behind it. The negative side you dreaded is really the fuel for your greatness, and it's being polished so you may step into your destiny stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than ever before. God is not deleting who you are. He is showing who you were always intended to be. Number 11, the reset causes the world to reacquaint itself to you. For far too long, you've been undervalued, misunderstood, or just disregarded. The world assumed it did. You figured it out and categorized yourself into categories that never quite fit. Perhaps they saw you as too much, too unusual, or just not what they anticipated. But here is the reality. Those antiquated notions were never your narrative. They were someone else's projection. And now, with the reset, everything is going to change. The world will have to reintroduce itself to you. This is the point at which they can no longer place you in the same box they previously did. You have outgrown their expectations, and their previous narratives about you are no longer relevant. What people thought they knew about you is going to be destroyed by the new you that is emerging. This reset compels the world to rethink its impression of you, since their narrow perspective no longer conceals the truth about who you are. They will no longer be able to label you based on previous errors, misunderstandings, or incorrect assumptions. You are no longer explainable by their previous criteria. Your progress has exceeded their capacity to understand it. And that's what makes it so strong. The reset is more than simply a personal shift. It's about the world seeing a version of yourself that was always intended to shine but could not completely emerge until now. This procedure necessitates a reintroduction since you are no longer the person they know. You're larger, braver, and more focused on your cause. It's time for them to see that the version of you they previously disregarded is no longer the one standing before them. God has reset the narrative, and you are going to craft your own tale. Prepare for the world to see you through fresh eyes, since the reboot you've experienced has rendered you unrecognizable in the greatest manner conceivable. Number 12. The terrible in you was always positive, misunderstood. The terrible in you was never as severe as it seemed. It was just misconstrued. The traits that you believed you had, your back, they made you feel like an outsider, or as if you weren't going about your life correctly. They were part of your design, but they had yet to discover their actual role. Your bravery, audacity, and passion were not faults or obstacles to your accomplishment. They were seedlings waiting for divine alignment. The reset is not intended to change the core of who you are. It is about presenting the truth about your individuality. You were not created to be a passive observer or a silent follower. You were designed to stand out, confront, and upset the status quo. Those daring moments when you spoke out while others remained mute, and when pushing boundaries felt safer than conforming. Those instances were not acts of defiance for the sake of it. They were an indication that something greater was stirring within of you. Your resistance was not motivated just by a desire to fight. It was about battling for your truth, your identity, and the purpose you were meant to serve. The world may have labeled it too much, but God says just enough. The intensity you formerly attempted to conceal or diminish is now fuel for your fire. When the reboot kicks in, the fire becomes concentrated rather than destructive. God is taking those two attributes and aligning them with your larger purpose. The fact is that you were never awful. You were always strong and capable of greatness, but the world didn't know how to handle your brilliance yet. This reset is not intended to change who you are. It's about being the person you were intended to be. Those traits that were previously misinterpreted will now urge you ahead. God did not make you to fit into a mold. He created you to shatter it. And now, everything is coming into place. This reset, this divine realignment, is your invitation to embrace the wholeness of who you were created to be. It is not about conforming to what the world expects. It's about breaking free from its narrow perspective and embracing the boundless power God has always recognized in you. You're not who people believed you were, and you're certainly not who you once were. This shift is not fleeting. It's a movement, a generational change that will affect every aspect of your life. Doubts, challenges, and failures. Neither of them defined you. They just honed you for this moment when you emerge from the reset. Do not look back. The world will have to reset, reintroduce itself to you, and recognize that the person standing before them is more than simply brave and unapologetic. They are divinely unstoppable. Your history, negative habits, and blunders are no longer the focus of the tale. What is happening now is a legacy that will outlast your doubts, worries, and anybody who has ever questioned your ability. So approach your reboot with confidence, knowing that every ounce of who you are is precisely what the world needs. Fire, rebellion, and passion. They aren't just for you. They are intended for future generations. This is not just a fresh chapter in your life. It's the beginning of a whole new novel, and it is inscribed in the ink of purpose, destiny, and divine intention. You were always destined to ascend. Now the world is ready to see it. If this message has struck a chord with you, if you can feel the change occurring and know that your reboot is imminent, don't lose out on what comes next. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to remain updated on this adventure. You've become a part of something greater, something that will change your life and the world around you. Subscribing means more than simply keeping up to date. You're committed to your own growth. Prepare for more revelations, breakthroughs, and moments of divine alignment. Subscribe today because the greatest is yet to come and you don't want to miss out. Let us rise together. Stay blessed.